Hi, everyone, and welcome. It's our year-end awards show. We've done it for the fourth year in a row, and we're dressed up for it, along with Jeff Kolpack. And look who's joining us in studio with his $200 suit coat, the one and only Eric Peterson. Gentlemen, we've come to the end of 2014. We've done it, Jeffrey, over the last couple of years, just to dole out our awards after another remarkable football season.
Well, before we start, we need to add a new prop.
Oh, that's going to the set, yeah. Right next to the nickel, Big E. That's pretty
right.
good.
Eric Peterson's senior class photo and the Bart Simpson t-shirt.
Kolpack is just jealous of my style. We all know it. I mean, look what he's wearing today. We've got like nice button-up shirts.
got
I don't
the
know.
little mock
turtleneck.
Yeah.
Those went out like the 1980s Kolpack.
All right, now we've got 6 different award categories that we're going to go through here over the next 20, 25 minutes here, ranging from Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Most Improved, Player to Watch, our top play, and then we end the show with our favorite, which is our favorite blog moment. There's not really any criteria. We debated this among the three of us in terms of how we came to each of these award winners.
Well, and there's so much to pick from this
Yeah.
team, because when you have a team that plays 16 games and goes 15-1 and wins a 4th straight title, there's a lot of stuff to choose from, a lot of players to choose from, a lot of plays, a lot of blog moments. That's 16 blog shows we had to choose from. So, but it was all in good fun.
Did you have any hard time coming to a consensus on some guys?
Yeah, I mean, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, Kyle Emanuel is kind of the obvious choice. I did not go with him. A little tease for later on in the show. But there's so many key players, from the Travis Becks, the Carlton Littlejohns, the Christian Dudziks, the Colton Heagles, who've been a part of this defense for such a long time that, you know, I don't think that was easy. And offensively, you had 2 record-setting guys who had single-season records. So there's definitely some competition.
All right, let's get started. Kolpack, I'll have you lead off with Offensive Player of the Year.
Well, Carson Wentz, if you don't have the quarterback to drive the car, it's hard to really get the keys in ignition and go forward. Carson Wentz just got better as the year went on. He had 2 interceptions and no touchdowns after 2 games, but boy, did he develop. He's got the physical build, 6'6", 250. We just saw the arm there in the corner of the end zone, accurate. He had better than Brock Jensen numbers this year, and he just got better, especially late in the season, late in games.
Over 3,000 passing yards, Big E. I'll go back to that game right there at Missouri State, which is off the game against Northern Iowa, where he was not good. He throws 2 interceptions and then rattles off 5 touchdown passes to tie a Bison school record.
Yeah, that was probably the one part of the season you're like, well, what's going on here? Because he's coming off a tough effort. The first quarter of that game didn't play very well, and all of a sudden, like, the switch went on, and it was like laser after laser, right on the money, threw 2 touchdowns to
Tough runner, too.
Yeah, very tough runner. Threw 2 touchdowns to his cousin. And like Jeff said, as the year went on, I mean, he finished, I believe, with like 25 touchdown passes. He didn't throw many early on, so if you count from that last 10 to 12 game stretch of the season, he was on fire.
We saw a little bit of his running ability during the 2012 and 2013 season when he would come in relief of Brock Jensen. He is a talented runner. I mean, he is very athletic.
Well, like you said, he has that size, but I didn't think he was as quick as what he was. And that quarterback series where he would, read the defensive end and take it up the middle, he was just fantastic on it. I think it was the South Dakota State playoff game that really came to the forefront. A little worrisome to run a quarterback like that when your backups are unproven, but he proved to be real durable.
Yeah, it did bite him a little bit, though, Big E, in that game against South Dakota State where he turned his ankle. He was not 100% for the game against Northern Iowa after he tore up the Jacks in that first game.
Well, the weird thing, though, it wasn't really on a run play. He was scrambling, and it was a play where you just probably should have thrown the ball away. He got near the sideline and kind of got hit awkwardly. And I think as the season went on, he got a little smarter on when to get out of harm's way. But like Jeff said, the durability to me was most impressive. He was running over guys, and I'm sure sometimes maybe the coaching staff was cringing, like, all right, we appreciate you being aggressive, but we can't get you hurt here. But he just overall running, passing, just demeanor, composure, it was all there by the end of the season.
My Offensive Player of the Year is John Crockett. You mentioned 2 record setters. Crockett is the other for the single season rushing record. Nearly 2,000 yards, Jeff. He gets 1994. We expected a monster season out of number 23. It was that and then some. He was terrific on the ground this season.
Right, he took advantage of having the bulk of the carries. If you remember, right, NDSU in the last 2-3 years has done the dual back system. Well, longer than that, actually, if you go back to Tyler Roll. in his days. They've done the split the carries kind of thing. This year, not so much. This year, Crockett had the bulk of the carries.
He also developed into a pass-catching running back as well. There were numerous games where he led the Bison in receptions.
Well, you can't forget the quarterback aspect, right? He threw one pass this year for a touchdown, but they did a lot more of putting him out in the slot, motioning him out wide, and down the he was a very good down the field pass catcher. He looked like a wide receiver at times, and even at this All-Star game he's playing at, if you look at some of the experts breaking down what he's done, they're impressed by his pass catching.
Third leading receiver this year.
That's unbelievable for a running back, considering what he did. There were moments he took over in games. I'll go right to Coastal Carolina, in a game where the Bison had to outscore the Chanticleers to win that game. He starts the game with a 70-yard touchdown, and then Kopech, he had the 40-yarder to cinch it at the end of the game.
But more than that, I thought he was a spiritual leader of this team, the emotional leader. He got things cranking, always upbeat, always positive. And like you said about the Shrine Week, they've noted that this week too.
Well, the other thing, when you got inside the 5, he wasn't going to be denied. You talk about the speed, the cutting ability. Like, I think the Sam Houston State game, he had like the signature moment when he carried 4 defenders across the goal line. And even in the national championship game, he didn't have a huge game, but his 7-yard touchdown run was through traffic and breaking tackles. So I think he added a lot more power to his game this season than maybe what we'd seen in previous years with
Kopech,
him.
he was at his best when NDSU needed him to be at his best. That playoff run, the last 5 games of the season, he was unbelievable.
And the Bison coaches said that too. They just thought he ran harder, ran with more authority, was just bad. He saved his best or last, and that's what you want your seniors to do.
Second all-time leading rusher in Bison history. I mean, is that where he'll be ranked in the all-time when it's all said and done? Will he be considered the second best running back in the history of the school?
And he did it in 3 years too. But he took advantage of all the extra games in the playoff games. You got to remember, Lamar Gordon set the record, and that's when they counted stuff without the playoff games. Right. So everything Lamar Gordon did was regular season.
All right, Big E, Offensive Player of the Year for yourself.
I got to go with Kopech, as much as it pains me. It's Carson Wentz, and it comes back to he was the guy on the spot. We knew what Crockett was. We did not know what Carson Wentz was. And
we did after this play.
Well, yeah, we got a little sample of it in that game, and I think Kopech said it all. But for everything Kopech said and the stuff I added, it's Carson Wentz because he was on the spot and he delivered.
And we found that out right away. Iowa State
play right here.
That's Big 12. That's Florida quarterback material.
And then this was the other play, Big E, that also opened up everybody's eyes.
Yeah, this defensive back
man,
wasn't ready for what was coming at him there. I mean, 6'6", 230 pounds. If he had a little more weight to his frame, he could play defensive end.
Yeah. After that Youngstown game, that was game over. That was 14-0. The Youngstown just got
This was another play, Kopech, that's forgotten in the season. When he ran one way and then threw completely across his body to a wide-open R.J. Urzadowski, that was at least 60 yards in the air.
And you can bet that'll be on professional tapes when the time comes.
He was unbelievable this season, and you look at what he did, not only, we mentioned it with his arm, his legs, and his ability to move out of the pocket, Biggie. I think that was something we hadn't yet seen. He was really good. And his touch, on that play there, perfect.
He just seemed so calm in that pocket, and part of it, give credit to the offensive line. If teams weren't blitzing, he had a lot of time, but it just look at him. He's just back there hey, I'm just back here. I'm going to find an open guy and just zing it to him. Very composed.
All right, Defensive Player of the Year. You already teased a little bit about this, that you're going off board, so I'll let you have your first crack at it.
I'm going to go with Christian Dudzik. You look at the stats, the defense allowed 11 passing touchdowns overall in 16 games this season, and that's with 3 in the championship game. He anchored that secondary, I'm giving it part of a Lifetime Achievement Award. 61 starts.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
He played in all 61 games. Here you see him intercepting the ball.
That was a big interception.
He's at the back end of that secondary, and how many times did he stop a 60-yard touchdown run or pass, caught the guy, 30 yards downfield and gave the defense a chance to hold the team to a field goal. His speed was one of the reasons other teams didn't pop those big 60 or 70-yard runs or passing plays a lot throughout his career. And the durability. I mean, 61 starts. He's not a big guy. No. I mean, body-wise, he's not a huge guy. The speed, the smarts, the durability, I wrap that all into one package, and he's my Defensive Player of the Year.
He was always around the football, Kopech. This might be his play of the year. This was awesome against Youngstown, out of nowhere to make that play.
He did these things, too. You got to remember, he was hurt, too, late in the year. He masked it pretty well. I think it was the Missouri State game where we didn't think he was going to play, and then he plays. So those guys, he was a Defensive Player of the Year. I think also one of the gutsiest Player of the Year.
Is a guy who ended up starting his redshirt freshman year at cornerback, gets named all-newcomer team, then moves to a different position, and was finally an all-conference player this season. It was tremendous.
Well, this team was built on a lot of winners. He was really good in high school. He led his team to the state finals in Omaha and in Nebraska. So, and those guys, I can't doubt that. But the fact that he was there so long was amazing.
Your defensive player of the year.
Well, I'm going with the Buck Buchanan Award winner. I don't know how you can.
That goes with the hard decision. Way to think outside the box.
Well, sometimes
It's a slam dunk, though.
Sometimes you overthink these things, when it's right in front of your face. Kyle Emanuel, 32 tackles for lost yardage. The next guy on the Bison defensive chart had 7. 32 to 7. He had set a school record for sacks. If you're really good on the defensive line, you're going to be probably pretty good defensively.
He starts the year, Big E, with 2 sacks against Iowa State, then 3 more against Weber State. He had 5, and then this play I thought was his Buck Buchanan moment. We say the Heisman moment. That stiff arm against Mo State. That's why he gets my vote as well as Defensive Player of the Year.
Well, you might call that the moment. To me, the moment that sticks out for him, and here's another big play at Weber State where they're, kind of struggling a little bit. I still go to, I think it was the last game of the regular season where he catches Zach Zenner from behind. 35 to 40 yards downfield. And to me, that just shows he's not only your best or most talented player, he's a guy that doesn't give up on plays. And to me, that's more important than a sack. I mean, we know he can get around the corner and get to the quarterback, but a play like that shows the heart and intensity that he had.
Chris Kleiman said, Kolpak, in our first press conference of the season, I think he's going to be the best defensive player in the FCS, and obviously he lived up to that. And Emmanuel said he thought it was a challenge, and he tried to live up to that from the start of the year.
I look at the whole package on this guy. He's a member of Blue Key Honor Society, which takes a high priority on grade point average and how good of a guy you are on campus. He's highly involved in his youth church group. I mean, those high character guys, they're all over this roster. But the fact you have your star player on defense be that well-rounded, I think really says something to him.
Well, another key factor, I believe he looks good in a suit coat. Carton Littlejohn said he's one of the most stylish guys on this team. He's got the vest going on, the tie, so he had it all. Fashion, academics, athletics, all rolled into one package.
There's one guy that knows about football and fashion. It's the guy to my right,
obviously.
and that's Big E.
Self-proclaimed.
There's no doubt about that. All right, most improved player. This is always a debatable category because there were so many seniors on this team. I don't know how many you could look at to say they really elevated their game from 13 to 14. Where are you going with this?
Well, I had a tough time picking this one. I flopped around all the time. I'm going with tight end Luke Elbers because he was a non-existent in spring ball. He's pretty much non-existent as far as planning for this year. Ends up with some big catches during the year.
4 touchdown catches and 2 in that playoff run. 2 big ones in the playoff
and especially the one in the title game too, because that was got him off, got him the lead.
Great catch against the touchdown against Southern Illinois. He only had 3 catches all of last season, Kolpak. He had 4 touchdowns this year.
Right, and he had 13 catches, 4 touchdowns. That tells me he's a big play guy.
His ability to get downfield was something that was big in the Montana game too, Biggie. He has better hands than you'd think for a big guy.
Well, and he kind of helped spearhead the tight end charge when Zach Fra was hurt. R.J. Yerzandowski had a great year, but being a young guy, you needed something to complement.
Got hurt too.
Yeah, those tight ends were key as the season went along. How many times did you see him go up the seam and score a touchdown? And I felt like Albers led that charge and became a factor in the passing game.
How big is that for him to be back next season, already developing that kind of rapport with Carson Wentz now for 2015?
They lose Kevin Vaughn, and that's going to be a big loss. So Luke Albers is going to have to take over that role as a primary tight end, and he's big enough too. He's got that Kevin Vaughn size. You like the flow mode on the hair,
man.
So.
He's got the hair.
Hair and fashion being brought to the show by Big E. For the second year in a row, my most improved player is Esley Thornton. I thought he was tremendous this entire season, elevating to the start at starting at linebacker, knowing he was going to be counted on. After switching from quarterback to linebacker, I thought he did a really nice job last year. He took the next step forward and was an impact player. Obviously, you'll point to the national championship game with a ceiling interception, but he had quarterback sacks this year. He had 3 of them. He had 2 picks, including the one against Western Illinois. Biggie, he was all over the football and provided that other anchor next to Carlton Littlejohn and Travis Beck.
And you even saw it a little more when Travis Beck went down. He had to step up his game. He had to be on the field a lot more in all different situations. You see him getting a sack there. And, that title game showed that guy's resilience.
Yes.
It's 23-14, and we look back at the tape. That interception was right in his hands at that point, and that probably would have slammed the door at that point. Opens it up again. Illinois State makes a rally. You're behind. They have the ball again after the NDSU scored at the chance to get in the field goal range. And just opportunistic. He wasn't on the coverage, but he ran up and ripped the ball out of
As
it.
we just saw in that clip there, he led the team in forced fumbles and
Yes.
3 are tied for the team lead. I thought he was just consistent. Consistent was all the way through. He never really made those huge game-changing Marcus Williams plays, but he was always there.
He's a winner, and that's something you went back
Yes.
to as well. All he does is win, and another 4
rings
championships.
now.
It's unbelievable
8 rings,
what he did.
including high school.
And I don't know if we talked about it enough, how difficult it was to go from quarterback. And he said in the postgame press conference after Illinois State, he thought he was going to be the guy leading to 4 championships as a starting quarterback. And to do it at linebacker and then to be the impact guy he was, I don't think that can be understated.
I think there was an element where he had to swallow some pride there
Yeah.
when you have to give up your quarterback dreams and move to defense and be a backup too. And
Yes,
he had to
he was not
learn
a starter.
everything all
Yep.
over. He was willing to do it, and he sacrificed it.
I really thought he was really good. All right, Big E, most improved for yourself.
You guys talk about all these flashy guys who make interceptions and force fumbles. I'm going with the offensive line, and it's kind of a dual award. I'm giving it to Landon Leckler and Jesse Hines. I just feel like
Oh, you're flopping again.
that isn't flopping. Coming into the season, you have Joe Haig moving from right to left tackle. Other than that, what else did they have coming back? I mean, Jesse Hines did start as a true freshman, but battled through injury. He came back. He had a good year. And Landon Leckler, you just never heard about the guy. And if you're an offensive line, that's great. You never want to,
No.
as an offensive
Yep.
lineman, you don't want people talking about you. So he held down. And I struggled with this too. I thought maybe a guy like Jedry Sear could have been in that mix
Definitely in the
because,
mix, yeah.
you know, losing their blocking fullback last year. He came in, it was seamless. I mean, he
was.
blocked for the single-season rushing record. So I just think all those guys who cleared the way this year really stepped forward, and this team needed it.
Leckler, let me add this. Leckler in high school at Beach was almost more of a basketball
Yeah,
player. I know you,
yep.
Mary, wanted him. Came in at what, 6'7", maybe 240.
He's not big, no.
And now he's 6'7", 300, and he's coming
big.
back. Yeah.
You look at that spot, and we talked about offensive line. We hammered that in spring football. What is going to happen up front? How good are they going to be with 4 new guys up there? And you hit on 2 of them. And Austin Kunert's another guy we could talk about how good he played, and obviously Jeremy Kelly as well. But Hines is a guy that was plagued by injury, and he doesn't miss a game. Leckler comes in, and like Big E said, you wouldn't know anything was different from last year's offensive line.
They needed Hines to save his healthiest year for last. There's no doubt about it. But I think the job of assistant coaching, one of the best assistant coaching jobs this year, Connor Riley,
No doubt.
because he had a whole new line, and everybody was in a new position with Haig switching over to the left side. To do what they did, you got to point to coaching.
No doubt.
Well, and the other thing, like you said, you bring up Austin Kunert and Jeremy Kelly. I mean, you could throw those guys in the mix,
Absolutely.
but it's hard to, I don't break down film. I mean, Kolpak might think I have cutouts of these guys, but Jesse Hines has great hair too, so I had to put him in there.
Another one with flow. All right, Big E, now we're on to, this is for a lot of our viewers that are really interested to see who we're going to pick here. This is player to watch, one we're going to keep our eye on for 2015.
I think Jeff has a guy on the defensive side of the ball, and that's a good place to look because they're going to have to replace a lot of guys. But I'm going to go with Kayvon Hawkins, a wide receiver, I believe a 6'2 guy, a bigger wide receiver, or 6 foot, I guess, on the graphic here. Zach Vrock coming back helps out a little bit with this, but if they can get that third threat at wide receiver, and that's something I don't think they consistently had this year, this offense could be really special next year. And I think that's the one area where they haven't had the depth. And if he can emerge, which I think he can, he's bound to have a big year. And I think people are going to hear about him.
One of the
next
high
season.
prospects of the class of 2014, Kolpak, who obviously redshirted this season. He'll have every opportunity in spring football to take a step forward.
I've heard the same thing about Darius Shepard, too.
Yeah.
He's a receiver who redshirted. I think we've always been waiting, we as media covering this team, like, okay, who's the next receiver?
Yep.
And you could play, and still, I'm just waiting for that one guy.
RJ Yerzadowski is, but he's more of a slot guy. I know what you're
other-
saying.
About the
other
home
guy-
run hitter.
yeah.
We're
Yeah,
talking about the home run
the
hitter.
outside.
Zach
home run
Raw
hitter
had a
guy.
great junior year, but you're waiting for that guy as a freshman to come in. The Jake Weineke thing from South Dakota State. Some guy to progress to have that kind of year.
Now, maybe we're being greedy because Erzendowski comes in, could have been the MVP of the championship game, and without him, they don't win the national championship this season. It's as simple as that.
I think that
for
was a
RJ.
good decision to pull the red shirt on that guy.
No doubt.
I don't think they regret that at all.
Your player to watch.
Well, somewhere Big East thinks offense wins championships. I digress. I disagree.
I felt like in that championship game, the offense did win the championship, Kolpak.
But the defense finally got the interception to end the game. And I'm looking at that position at linebacker. There's got to be somebody that comes up because they lose essentially 3 from this year, including Travis Beck, who was injured. I'm looking for a guy like Levi Jordan, a walk-on program from Dickinson. They're so good at finding these guys. Brian Schatz, the walk-on, Joe Haig, the walk-on. And this is a stab in the dark. I've just heard good things about him. But I'll have him as a representative of somebody we don't know about that is going to come forward and make some plays next year.
I think you hit the position right on the head at linebacker, because that dovetails into my guy to watch, the guy we've talked about for the last 2 years. That's Pierre G. Tucker, who has not been able to stay on the field. He got hurt again this season. This happened against Indiana State, where he tweaked his knee. He's shown flashes of it, Kolpak. We saw it here against Incarnate Word, where he had his first career interception in that game. Every team in the Missouri Valley wanted this guy. Northern Iowa wanted him in the worst way, and of course he ended up signing with NDSU on signing day in a coup for NDSU. His ability to stay on the field and make plays. He's got all the athleticism. We've heard this. He's got all the tools. If he's able to stay on the field, boy, that's a big bonus for NDSU.
They could use a big breakout year from him. Physically, you're right. He looks the part. He steps off the bus, and you look at him and go, wow, okay, this guy looks like a linebacker. Nick DeLuca looks like a linebacker, but they need him to stay healthy.
You look at that. If they get Tucker healthy, they already have DeLuca back. Boy, that's 2/3 of a linebacker core that's got a lot of eligibility left that could be very, very
It's a big if, though.
You're right.
In a weird way, the injuries have almost helped this team the last couple of years because they've finished off the national championship.
Right.
2 years ago, it's Grant Olson. Carlton Littlejohn moves to the middle. Yep. They get ready. They basically have their set of linebackers ready for next year. Travis Beck gets hurt this year. Obviously, I don't like to see these guys get hurt, but then that gives Nick DeLuca a chance to get a lot of meaningful reps and be in some big-time situations, and that's going to be critical next year when you lose all that linebacker experience.
All right, top play, and you guys are both on the same page again. I don't know what's going on. It took all the way to the end of the season for you guys to be both on the same page, so go for it. What's your top play of the year?
R.J. Urzadowski, the catch against South Dakota State. I thought the time, the place, and for these two freshmen, Carson Wentz, to throw that nice pass, the pass that he did.
Well, we're seeing my play. Here's your play.
Here we go. Look at the pass right there, right? And he read it right, too. He read the opening and the defense, and you're talking about Carson Wentz. But this catch was a thing of beauty. It is not easy. Dave Sampson, that still photo that he had of it, just so emphasized it how good it was. And it's clutch. After the game, you look at him, did he break a sweat?
No. Biggie, and the moment wasn't too big for either one of them either, especially on that catch.
I mean, your season's on the line there. I mean, none of this four-peat stuff is happening if that doesn't happen. And I just think, Wentz being calm in the pocket, great catch, great throw, though. I mean, you can't undersell how good a throw that was. There's a linebacker there. And I remember talking to Urzadowski after the game. He's like, yeah, the guy had his head turned. I had plenty of room. It's like, yeah, he had about an inch or two of space, but just everything was perfect on that play. Great run route, perfect throw. He went up and got the ball, and it really catapulted the playoff run and was kind of a precursor of how tough this run was going to be for this team.
I'll dovetail off that because my play of the year, it comes from the national championship game. It's after Urzadowski got NDSU down to the 5-yard line. Was Carson Wentz in a moment that was very similar to what Brock Jensen did against Georgia Southern, scoring on the touchdown run that ended up being the game-winning touchdown for the Bison to win it over Illinois State. You look at this, and this typified how he ran all season long, Kolpak. He bounced off at least two guys and made another guy miss, including Pat Meehan, one of the best linebackers in the Missouri Valley.
And it's similar, you talk about the Brock Jensen, when he did against Georgia Southern, he got that guy head on. Those quarterbacks, you talk about Jensen and now Wentz, they're so big that when they get headed upfield, they bring a load.
Yep.
And you saw it on that play. You're like, there's a guy free, but you have a 6'6", 230-pound guy.
Chase Warlock had nobody to block,
it's
too.
Like, I know the guy was a linebacker, but you're thinking, he's not going to tackle him.
No.
There's no way Carson Wentz is going to go down with one guy in this situation. He made enough of a move so the guy didn't hit him head on, and the rest is history. And another play I want to bring up that none of us named, and Kolpak talked about in some of his analysis, is the John Crockett 80-yard touchdown run against Iowa State early in the year.
Yep. It's 14-0.
Yeah, it's not the magnitude, but similar to that Derek Lang screen pass against Kansas State. That was maybe the run where it was like, it's going to be okay for this team. I think it was all right, we're here. We may have lost all these guys, but we can fall down 14-0 and figure it out.
Where do we have that on our top plays? Because we have to now reshuffle it with Wentz scoring. I think we had the Crockett play high. It was 2 or 3 on our list.
You talking about season?
Yes.
Yes.
You have to reshuffle it a little bit now.
You totally have to reshuffle. I mean, that's going to take some time. But I think that 80-yard touchdown run by
Definitely.
Crockett really got him
Honorable
off.
mention.
Honorable
Yeah.
mention.
Yep.
Yes, we'll give that.
I mean, you got to give the national championship play. I
Right.
mean,
You could throw Wesley Thornton's
when
pick in there,
yeah,
too.
You're talking player of the year, a play of the year by difficulty or by meaning, and by
think
meaning,
meaning.
the
That was
5-yard
it.
run
Yeah.
has definitely got to be the top.
I'll give you that.
clinches a national championship.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you guys giving me that one.
Yeah.
All right, by
No,
meeting,
we agree with you.
my favorite. Well, this is kind of 1A and 1B for me. My favorite blog moment comes for you for this season.
My favorite.
Your
blog
favorite, yeah,
moment?
your favorite. This is kind of mine as well.
It happened when Dom Izzo got his Heisman vote, and it was time to celebrate. So let's roll it and get the bubbly popping.
Oh, a bottle of Dom. What do you think?
That's fantastic. Oh, look at that.
A bottle of Dom.
Yeah.
This is non-alcoholic.
Okay.
But we're going to pop this thing right now. And while I try to open this thing and not hurt somebody, Kolpak has a few Heisman questions for you, Dom.
Oh, here we go. All right. What do you
Okay,
got?
well, if you're part of our fraternity now, you got to know it. So, who won the 1941
Oh,
Heisman?
my God. I have no idea. Don't strip my vote. I have no idea.
Bruce Smith, University of Minnesota.
Oh,
Who won the first one?
Oh, this is fantastic.
That was awesome, Biggie. That was my favorite.
That is the most nervous I've been for a prop. I'm like, I don't want to do the Christmas story thing and shoot somebody's eye out with that cork. So I'm like, I'm going to shoot this straight up in case, everyone told me, just keep your hand over it. It's not a problem. You can hold it. I did it, and it just popped
You gotta remember,
out,
we're
and,
live
yeah,
now.
that was
so
live
It
too.
was live. I
It was
didn't,
good stuff.
no one was hurt
No,
in
no
the shooting
one
of
was
that
hurt,
video
yeah,
blog,
yeah.
so I'm happy.
I know the answer finally. It's Jay Berwanger. I knew it.
Yeah.
I was freezing under the moment. I was all nervous there.
From the University of Chicago.
Exactly. My favorite moment of the entire season was one time we can finally scoop the man. Anytime we can get him surprised, and actually unintentionally,
Yes.
we surprised you in the process as well.
Hey, what do you have for
Hey,
me?
where's my guest? Is my guest
have a
here?
guest?
Where's my guest?
They're asking for the belt.
We started the season with Miss North Dakota.
Yes.
And we're going to end the season, hopefully.
Oh, look at this.
I defer to
Wait
you.
a minute.
I defer to you.
The one and only Brock Jensen is here with us. Wow. Well, how about that?
Now, a little backstory on that one. First off, you had no idea that he was coming, and second, that he had the belt. But you were all prepared to bring in Steve Walker at that moment, and he didn't show up, and Brock comes up and steals the show. That was fabulous.
Well, I think the guy who got us was David Sampson,
Yes,
the photographer,
Sammy
because in an earlier show, Brock Jensen got a hold of that belt. I was not
took
sure if I
it.
was going to see it again. And I'm like, David, can you contact him? You might have had his cell number through Twitter or something. And Sammy played coy, like, oh, he's not getting back to me. He's not getting back to me. Well, he did get back to him, and it was a surprise, and they got me. That was the first time where I did not know where the belt was till it showed up.
That was fantastic. We saved the best for last.
Well, I've been friends with the Maris for a long time, and I knew Audra was going to be back in town because, just through the family connections and talking to people. And it so happened that she was tailgating with her family about 3 houses down, if you will, from where we were. So I said, hey, why don't you pop over and give us your prediction on Incarnate Word? And here it is.
All right. Your guys' analysis has been okay, but from now on, you're irrelevant to this show because I'm bringing in
Oh, my
Miss
God.
USA runner-up, Miss
Oh,
North
my
Dakota, Audra Murray, NDSU student.
Oh,
Big
my
K, huh?
goodness.
Yes, huge day, huge day.
Okay, give us your pick.
So Incarnate Word plays a 3-4 defense, and Carson Wentz is going to pick it apart with a short passing game, and the Bison are going to win 52-3.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you, Dare.
Thank you.
52-3.
Who are you? You're getting a pageant queen in here just to one up you.
I just have a lame T-shirt.
I know.
He brings in a Miss North Dakota runner-up for Miss USA. I can't compete. I'm done.
And she was close. It was 58
yeah,
to nothing.
Yeah.
Well,
Your prop was great that day, too. You got upstage with the shirt.
I don't mind being upstage. As usual, though, I had to help Kolpak out. Audra was on the side, and she was getting all nervous.
That's
I'm
true.
like, "You're nervous?" And she's like, "Yeah, this is nerve-wracking." I'm like,
You're
"You're just on Miss USA. There's like millions of people. We do not have millions of people."
Well, we hope so.
Well, we'd hope so, but contrary to public belief or popular belief, we do not have millions of people watching the show yet. So I just found it kind of funny that she was nervous to come on this video blog and less nervous to walk around stage in high heels in front of millions of people.
We started this year with a hard edge. There's no doubt. We had Miss North Dakota to start the year, and that was pretty good. We ended with Brock Jensen and, of course, the great crowds all season long. There you have it, folks. It's our year-end spectacular with our Bison Awards show for 2014. Biggie's got to take that suit coat off and get it back there to, I'm not sure where you got that.
I got to get this dry cleaned, man.
You wore it on the Big Fargo to Frisco show. Looking pretty good.
Twice in a week.
I know, pretty good. All right, folks, there you have it. For Biggie, Eric Peterson, and Jeff Kolpak, I'm Dom Izzo. That's our Bison 2014 Awards show.